The Galactic Council of Advanced Species was having what the humans would call a very bad day. Actually, they'd been having a very bad 3 solar cycles, but who's counting? Certainly not the ancient cosmic horror currently digesting the Proxima Centauri system like it was some kind of celestial appetizer. The emergency session had dragged on for 19 standard hours in the Grand Chamber of Wisdom, a massive crystalline dome hovering in neutral space that served as the meeting place for the 27 most advanced civilizations in the known universe. Well, 26 advanced civilizations and the other ones. We don't talk about them. Yet. High Chancellor Zev Nok, a 15-foot-tall telepathic cephalopod from the aquatic world of Malar Prime, waved his tentacles in exasperation, his usual elegant blue skin flushed an alarming purple. Let me summarize our current predicament. He gurgled through his translator. An entity that ancient texts refer to as the consumer of stars has awakened from a 60-million-year slumber and has already devoured 3 populated solar systems. Our collective intelligence suggests it will reach the core systems within 2 standard months. Ambassador Elex of the Photosynthetic Consortium rustled her leaf-like appendages anxiously. Our attempts at communication have failed. It either cannot hear us or does not care to. The Vargon Armada's assault was equally unsuccessful, added War Minister Gex, a reptilian strategist whose species had not known defeat in 11,000 years. Our most powerful weapons were absorbed. It appeared to enjoy them, actually. A grim silence fell over the chamber as the holographic display showed the massive, shadow-like entity engulfing a yellow star, tendrils of darkness extinguishing the light as easily as one might blow out a candle. We've exhausted all conventional responses, said Grand Scholar Tico, the collective consciousness of a silicon-based hive mind. Our mathematical models predict complete galactic consumption within 3 standard years. High Chancellor Zev Nok's skin shifted to a deep indigo, the color of resigned dread. Then we have no choice but to consider unconventional measures. The chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. Ambassador Furia of the Quantum Harmonist rose from her chair, her energy form flickering with agitation. Surely you don't mean? I'm afraid I do, Zev Nok confirmed. We need to contact the humans. The resulting silence was heavier than neutron star material. Grand Scholar Tico's crystalline form actually cracked slightly from stress. The humans? The bipedal primates from that insignificant blue world in System Sol. The very same Zev Nok confirmed. War Minister Gex hissed in protest. Those chaotic, unpredictable, terrifyingly resourceful primates? The ones who somehow weaponized their own sneezing reflex during the Archelian conflict? The species that turned their planetary defense system into what they called a galaxy's biggest game of space invaders and actually improved its efficiency by 340%, added Ambassador Alex. Indeed, said Zev Nok. The species that drinks neurotoxins for pleasure and has somehow developed faster than light travel despite still arguing about whether their planet is flat. The Council collectively shuddered. Do we have any other options? Asked Ambassador Furia. Perhaps the void monks of eternal contemplation? Consumed last week, replied Zev Nok, along with their entire monastery planet. The chronal manipulators? Tried to send the consumer back in time. It ate the time stream. The Cosmic Harmony Alliance? Attempted to sing it into a peaceful slumber. It harmonized before consuming them. Zev Nok's tentacles slumped in resignation. We are, as the humans would say, completely out of options and rapidly running out of time. We need chaos to fight chaos. We need unpredictability to counter the unknowable. We need Igran, a species that terrifies even the gods, whispered Grand Scholar Tico. The council members looked at each other, a mixture of dread and desperate hope in their various sensory organs. Very well, said High Chancellor Zev Nok finally. Send a diplomatic envoy to Earth immediately. May the cosmic forces have mercy on us all. Commander Rix Tavish still had nightmares about his first encounter with humans, despite happening 3 standard years ago. As the senior Xenodiplomatic officer for the Galactic Council, he'd been responsible for hundreds of first contact scenarios. The crystalline entities of Rigel V? flawless integration. The sentient gas clouds of Nebula NGC 4414, diplomatic perfection. Humans were different. Rix, a tall, gray-skinned humanoid with 4 arms and iridescent eyes, sat in his quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony of Worlds, but reviewing the first contact records while spiraling into anxiety. The official first contact had been planned with meticulous care. The Council had chosen a remote field in what humans called Iowa to avoid population centers. They'd arrived at night to minimize visibility. They'd even adopted roughly humanoid forms to appear less threatening. What they hadn't counted on was Dave's annual alien abduction-themed kegger happening in that exact field, on that exact night. The holographic record showed the diplomatic team emerging from their ship in a shower of gentle light, bearing gifts of knowledge and peace, only to be greeted by 73 intoxicated college students in tinfoil hats, one of whom immediately shouted, "I told you guys they were real," before attempting to take a selfie with Grand Ambassador Vox. Things had deteriorated rapidly from there. By morning, 3 diplomatic officers had participated in something called a keg stand. Ambassador Vox had been crowned beer pong champion of the galaxy. And humanity had been accidentally granted level 7 civilization status 4 levels higher than their actual development merited, because someone had spilled fermented grain, but liquid on the accreditation device. Within 6 months, humans had somehow leveraged their new galactic citizenship to establish trade routes, integrate alien technology with their primitive systems, and accidentally solve the quantum paradox of entangled consciousness that had stumped the Council's best minds for millennia. A human physicist had apparently figured it out while in the shower thinking about nothing in particular. But the incident that truly secured humanity's reputation occurred during the Arkelian conflict. The warlike Arkelians had threatened Earth, not realizing that humans, unlike most sentient species, became more resourceful rather than more cautious when faced with extinction. The holographic record shifted to show a human vessel facing an Arkelian warship. The Arkelians had disabled the human weapons systems, shields, and engines. By all standard protocols, the humans should have surrendered. Instead, they had filled their escape pods with a mixture of cleaning chemicals, pointed them at the Arkelian ship's air intakes, and launched them all simultaneously. The resulting reaction had incapacitated the entire Arkelian crew with what humans later explained was basically really strong pepper spray. Rick shut off the recording with a shudder. And now the Council wanted these unpredictable primates to help with the consumer of stars? It was madness. Commander Tavish, his communication system chimed. "We've entered Earth's solar system. The Council has authorized direct contact with their military leadership." Rix took a deep breath, his 4 hands smoothing down his diplomatic robes. "Very well. Set course for Earth's military headquarters." "Actually, sir," the navigator replied hesitantly, "Council intelligence suggests our best contact isn't at their headquarters. We're heading to something called Murphy's Bar Grill outside Fort Benning, Georgia." Rix closed all 4 of his eyes. "Of course we are." As it turned out, Murphy's Bar Grill was exactly the kind of establishment Rix Tavish had feared: dark, noisy, that filled with the scent of burnt animal flesh and fermented grain beverages, and packed with off-duty human military personnel. The establishment's walls were covered with what appeared to be trophies from various conflicts, alongside neon signs advertising different poisons that humans voluntarily ingested. Rix's diplomatic team, consisting of himself, Security Officer Krell, a silicon-based life form resembling a humanoid collection of rocks, and cultural specialist Mipa, a diminutive purple empath with enormous eyes, materialized in the parking lot, rather than inside the building. They had at least learned that much from the Iowa incident. "Remember," Rix instructed his team, "we're looking for Lieutenant Katherine Murphy, tactical specialist. Council intelligence indicates she's the ideal representative for our needs." "Why her specifically?" asked Mipa, her large eyes blinking rapidly as she absorbed the chaotic emotional environment. "Apparently she's what humans call a problem solver," Rix replied, checking his translator. "She has a reputation for unconventional tactical solutions. Her file also mentions something called chaos theory weaponization, whatever that means." The team entered the establishment, immediately drawing the attention of every human present. The music stopped. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Someone dropped a glass. Then a voice called out from the back. Either I've had one too many tequilas, or we've got visitors from up north. Way up north. North. A path cleared to reveal a woman sitting alone at a corner table. She was of average human height, with short red hair and a face that seemed permanently set in an expression humans called a smirk. Her military uniform jacket hung on the back of her chair, revealing a black t-shirt with the incomprehensible phrase, "Chaos isn't a pit, it's a ladder." "Lieutenant Katherine Murphy?" Rex inquired formally. "Kate Mayhem Murphy to my friends," she replied, gesturing to the empty chairs. "And anyone buying the next round. What brings the Galactic Council to my humble watering hole?" Rex was taken aback. "You recognize us as council representatives?" "The forearms are a giveaway," she said, sipping her drink. "Plus, I was stationed in Nevada when you guys accidentally crash-landed at that science fiction convention last year. Hard to forget, a 7-foot Silicon Rock person trying to comprehend cosplay." Security Officer Krell made an embarrassed, grinding noise. "Lieutenant Murphy," Rex began carefully, "we represent the Galactic Council of Advanced Species. We face an unprecedented threat that has defied all conventional. You need humans to solve a problem that's got all you super-advanced aliens stumped," she interrupted, grinning. "And specifically, you need me." Meepa squeaked in surprise, her empathic abilities clearly overwhelmed by Murphy's emotional state. "She's excited? And amused? I don't sense any fear at all." Murphy leaned forward. "Let me guess. Something big and scary is threatening the galaxy, and you've tried everything in your advanced alien playbook with no luck." Rex reluctantly activated a holographic projector, displaying the consumer of stars devouring a planetary system. This entity is consuming entire solar systems. It has defeated our most advanced weaponry, ignored our attempts at communication, and resisted all conventional strategies. Rather than showing appropriate horror, Murphy's eyes lit up with what Rex could only describe as delight. "So you've got an unkillable cosmic horror on your hands and you're out of ideas," she summarized, finishing her drink. "And now you're turning to the species that still hasn't figured out unified global governance but somehow invented both nuclear weapons and pumpkin spice lattes." "Essentially, yes," admitted Rex. Murphy's grin widened. "Give me 10 minutes to make some calls. We're going to need a team." Within those 10 minutes, Murphy had assembled what she called her Chaos Squad, 5 additional humans with specialties ranging from explosives to xenobiology to something called creative problem solving, but which appeared to be a euphemism for breaking universal laws. "So let me get this straight," said Murphy's second-in-command, a massive human male called Rodriguez. "We're going to fight a god with what, exactly?" "That's the fun part," Murphy replied, her eyes gleaming with alarming enthusiasm. "We get to figure that out. But first, we need to convince the brass." What followed was a rapid escalation through human military command that left Rex's head spinning. Within hours, they were seated in a secure facility beneath the human military headquarters known as the Pentagon, explaining the situation to increasingly high-ranking officials. To Rex's horror, each new human they briefed showed not increasing caution, but increasing excitement. "So this thing eats stars?" asked General Williams, the highest-ranking human present. "And you've tried nukes?" "Our weapons are considerably more advanced than nuclear fission," Krell rumbled. "But yes, essentially." The general looked at Murphy. "Lieutenant, you're thinking what I'm thinking?" Murphy's grin was positively predatory. "That conventional weapons are boring anyway?" "Yes, sir." "Excellent," said the general, turning to Rex. "Commander Tavish, Earth accepts your mission. Lieutenant Murphy will lead a specialized task force using what we call asymmetric warfare techniques. When can we leave?" Rex looked at the eager faces around him and felt a creeping sense of dread. "Our vessel is ready now, but perhaps we should discuss strategy first." "Oh, we'll figure that out on the way," said Murphy. already texting additional team members. Sometimes you've got to improvise. It's what we do best. That, Rix thought to himself, is exactly what I'm afraid of. The Galactic Council vessel Harmony of Worlds had never housed humans before, and it showed. The ship's systems struggled to maintain Earth standard gravity in some sections. The food synthesizers couldn't quite reproduce coffee without it tasting vaguely like wet cardboard, and the meditation chambers had been hastily converted into what Murphy insisted were necessary recreational facilities. Commander Rix Tavish stood in the ship's central planning dome, watching with growing concern as Lieutenant Murphy and her team spread out various incomprehensible diagrams and what appeared to be hand-drawn sketches of the cosmic entity they were meant to defeat. The fundamental problem, Murphy was explaining to both her team and the assembled alien representatives, is that you guys have been thinking too, logically. Grand Scholar Tico's crystalline form shimmered in what might have been a fence. Logic is the foundation of advanced problem-solving. Sure, for normal problems, agreed Murphy. But this consumer of stars thing doesn't play by normal rules. It doesn't negotiate, can't be destroyed by conventional weapons, and doesn't seem interested in self-preservation since it just absorbs anything thrown at it. Correct, said Rix. Which is why we've exhausted all possible approaches. Murphy grinned. All logical approaches. But have you tried being completely, irrationally bonkers yet? The alien representatives exchanged troubled glances. Rodriguez, explain Project Pandemonium, Murphy commanded. The large human stepped forward, unrolling a complex diagram. The entity consumes energy, right? Stars, weapons, fire, even time itself apparently. But has anyone tried giving it indigestion? War Minister Gex blinked his reptilian eyes slowly. Indigestion? For a cosmic entity? Everything that eats can get a stomachache, Rodriguez explained with alarming confidence for someone discussing the digestive system of an incomprehensible cosmic horror. The trick is finding what disagrees with it. What followed was the most disturbing brainstorming session Rix had ever witnessed. The humans proposed increasingly outlandish ideas, each seemingly more impossible than the last. They debated sending contradictory mathematical equations to confuse the entity, creating what they called a reverse black hole, which violated at least 6 universal constants, and at one point seriously discussed whether cosmic entities might be allergic to shellfish. I think we're overthinking this, said Chen, the xenobiologist on Murphy's team. If it eats energy, let's give it energy it can't process, like feeding lactose to the lactose intolerant. What's your proposal? Asked Rix wearily. We call it Plan Z, Murphy said, unveiling a final diagram that looked suspiciously like it had been drawn on a napkin. We're going to create a star that gives the cosmic entity the equivalent of food poisoning. The plan, as Murphy outlined it, involved creating a temporary artificial star using the ship's fusion generators, then contaminating it with a mixture of exotic particles, sound waves in space somehow, and what they referred to as the universal constant of annoyance. And what is this universal constant? Asked Ambassador Alex. The most irritating song in human history played at maximum volume, embedded in the fusion reaction, Murphy explained, combined with a specifically engineered feedback loop of contradictory signals. You want to annoy a cosmic entity to death? Rix struggled to understand. Not to death, corrected Rodriguez. Just enough to give it a cosmic bellyache so it leaves to find easier meals. The alien representatives looked at each other in a mixture of horror and desperate hope. This plan violated at least 27 principles of advanced physics, 9 laws of energy conservation, and all common sense. And what's this? Asked Rix, pointing to a section of the diagram labeled Emergency Backup. Murphy smiled innocently. Oh, that's just in case Plan Z doesn't work. We call it Plan Z Prime. Rix leaned closer, then recoiled. This just says duct tape and quantum entanglement with a question mark. Sometimes you've got to improvise, Murphy shrugged. Besides, you'd be amazed what you can fix with enough duct tape. As the journey continued, Rix observed with growing alarm how excited the humans became as they approached the cosmic entity's location. Where the alien crew grew increasingly somber and prepared their final communications to loved ones, Murphy's team held what they called pre-victory celebrations and spent hours perfecting their annoying sound compilation. "I don't understand," Rix finally confessed to Murphy in the ship's observation deck, watching the approaching void where once thriving star systems had existed. "We're facing near certain doom. How can you be so enthusiastic?" Murphy considered this, her usual smirk softening slightly. "You know what's unique about humans, Commander? We're not the strongest, smartest, or most advanced species, but we excel at doing the unexpected. Throughout our history, we've survived by trying the one thing no one else thought to try." "And if that doesn't work?" asked Rix. Her smirk returned. "Then we try something even more unexpected. That's Plan Z Prime." Rix decided he really didn't want to know what Plan Z Prime entailed. "We're approaching the entity's current position," announced the ship's navigation system. "Estimated contact in 30 minutes. "Showtime," said Murphy, heading for the bridge. "Let's go give a god indigestion." The void before them wasn't simply darkness. It was an absence so complete that it seemed to consume light itself. The consumer of stars hung in space like a living shadow, tendrils of nothingness stretching across the starscape, pulling the light and heat of nearby systems into its unfathomable mass. On the bridge of the harmony of worlds, even Lieutenant Murphy's perpetual smirk had faded slightly at the sight. "It's bigger than I expected," she admitted. "It has consumed 7 additional star systems since we briefed you," Commander Rix explained grimly. "Its rate of consumption is accelerating." "Well then," Murphy straightened her shoulders, "let's get its attention." The initial phase of Plan Z commenced with the ship's fusion generators working at 200% capacity to create what the humans called a snack star, a small, artificial sun designed to attract the entity's attention. The process strained the ship's systems to breaking point, but within an hour, a bright ball of fusion energy hung in space before them. "Contamination phase beginning now," reported Rodriguez from the engineering station. Murphy nodded. "Hit it with the special sauce." What followed was a sequence so bizarre that several alien crew members had to leave the bridge. The humans injected their artificial star with an impossible mixture of exotic particles, contradictory quantum states, and then somehow, despite Rix's insistence that sound cannot travel in space, embedded what they called Baby Shark Nyan Cat Friday Fusion Remix Extended Version into the very fabric of the fusion reaction. "Target is responding," announced the sensor officer, their voice trembling. "The consumer is approaching the artificial star." The bridge crew watched in tense silence as the cosmic shadow extended its tendrils toward their creation. For a moment it seemed as though Plan Z might actually work as the entity began to absorb their offering. Then everything went horribly wrong. "It's not just consuming the star," reported the science officer. "It's adapting to the contamination, neutralizing the exotic particles. And it appears to be enjoying the music," added a confused cultural specialist. Murphy frowned. "Well, that's unexpected. Time for Plan Z Prime." She grabbed her communication device. "Chen, Rodriguez, we need the package in Launch Bay 3. Now, like Dome 10. Rix followed Murphy as she rushed from the bridge. "Lieutenant, what exactly is Plan Z Prime? Your diagram was unclear." "That's because we made it up about 20 minutes ago," Murphy admitted as they raced through the corridors. "But the basic principle is sound." They arrived at Launch Bay 3 to find Chen and Rodriguez wrestling with what appeared to be a large, makeshift satellite constructed from spare parts, communications equipment, and alarming amounts of adhesive material. "Is that duct tape?" Rix asked incredulously. "Universal problem solver," Rodriguez confirmed, securing another section of the device. "This beauty is what we call a quantum resonance amplifier. Or it will be, if it works." "And if it doesn't?" asked Rix. "Then it's just a very expensive piece of space junk," Chen admitted. "But the theory is solid. We're going to use quantum entanglement to link this device to the entity's own consumption process, creating a feedback loop. Essentially, Murphy explained, it'll start consuming itself. Or at least that's the idea. Rick stared at the contraption. This violates at least 12 fundamental laws of physics. Only 12? Murphy grinned. We must be getting better. The deployment of the device was, like everything else involving the humans, chaotic but somehow effective. The ship maneuvered to the edge of the entity's reach, then launched the makeshift satellite directly into the void. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Sensors detect no change in the entity's behavior, reported the science officer through the communication system. Murphy's team exchanged concerned glances. Then Chen's monitoring device began to beep. We've got quantum entanglement, she announced. The feedback loop is establishing. On the main view screen, a strange distortion appeared within the cosmic shadow. The entity's tendrils began to withdraw from the surrounding systems, coiling back towards its center mass. It's working? Rex couldn't believe what he was seeing. Or it's getting ready for a counterattack, Rodriguez suggested helpfully. The entity's form began to pulse, expanding and contracting in a rhythm that defied explanation. Streams of energy erupted from its surface, some dissipating into space, others curling back to be reconsumed. It's experiencing quantum indigestion, Chen announced triumphantly. The feedback loop is forcing it to process its own consumption. It can either keep eating and make it worse, or... As if making a decision, the cosmic shadow suddenly contracted into itself, becoming a swirling vortex of darkness. Then, with a flash of light that temporarily blinded the ship's sensors, it vanished, leaving only empty space where once it had dominated the sector. The bridge erupted in stunned silence, followed by disbelieving cheers. Did we kill it? Asked Rex. Murphy shook her head, checking the readings. I don't think so. The quantum signatures suggest it's retreated to another dimensional plane. Basically, it decided our galaxy wasn't worth the stomachache. Rix looked at the humans, who were already celebrating with alarming enthusiasm. You defeated a cosmic entity with duct tape and an annoying song? And quantum physics, Chen added proudly. Don't forget the power of human stubbornness. Rodriguez grinned. Murphy clapped Rex on the shoulder. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one, Commander. Sometimes you just need to try the one thing no one else would think of. Because it's completely insane? Suggested Rex. Exactly, Murphy agreed. Now, I believe your council owes us a thank you party. We saved the galaxy, after all. The Grand Chamber of Wisdom had never witnessed a celebration quite like this one. The austere crystalline dome, usually reserved for solemn deliberations and dignified ceremonies, now pulsated with earth music, colorful lighting effects, that hastily installed by enthusiastic human engineers, and the unmistakable scent of what Lieutenant Murphy called victory barbecue. High Chancellor Zev Nock, his skin shifting between shades of amazed blue and bewildered green, raised a tentacle for silence. The chamber gradually quieted, though several humans continued to dance in the background. On behalf of the Galactic Council of Advanced Species, the Chancellor announced, his translator struggling to maintain a formal tone, I extend our profound gratitude to the representatives of Earth for their unconventional solution to our cosmic crisis. Hear, hear, cheered Murphy, raising her glass of what she'd assured everyone was just fruit juice despite its alarming purple flame. In recognition of humanity's contribution, Zev Nock continued, the Council has voted to grant Earth special status as protectors of the unexpected. This designation comes with full access to Council resources, technological exchange programs, and diplomatic privileges. Commander Rix Tavish, standing to the side of the Earth delegation, couldn't help but feel a mixture of admiration and lingering anxiety. The humans had succeeded where the most advanced civilizations had failed, yet their methods remained incomprehensible to him. Additionally, the Chancellor concluded, Lieutenant Katherine Murphy will be offered a permanent position as Special Tactical Advisor to the Council, should she accept. Murphy stepped forward, momentarily abandoning her usual smirk for something approaching solemnity. On behalf of Earth, I accept this honor. But the credit belongs to the entire team, and to the unique perspective that humans bring to the table. After the formal ceremony dissolved back into celebration, Rix found Murphy at one of the observation platforms, looking out at the stars. "You're not joining the festivities?" he asked. "Just taking a moment," she replied. "It's not every day you save the galaxy." "Indeed." Rex hesitated. "There's something I still don't understand. Throughout this entire crisis, even when facing an entity that terrified the most advanced species in the universe, you never once showed fear. Why?" Murphy considered this, her gaze still fixed on the stars. "Fear is useful when it keeps you alive, Commander. But the moment you face something that seems unbeatable, fear becomes a liability. Humans learned long ago that when the odds are impossible, the only way forward is to change the game entirely." "By using duct tape and annoying music?" Rex couldn't help but ask. Murphy laughed. "The specifics change. The principle doesn't. We look at problems from angles no one else considers. We try solutions that more advanced species dismiss as illogical or primitive. And sometimes, just sometimes, those crazy ideas work when nothing else will." Rex nodded slowly. "The Council has analyzed your quantum resonance amplifier. Despite its unorthodox construction, the underlying principles represent a significant advancement in quantum mechanics. Several of our scientists are still trying to understand how you knew it would work." "We didn't," Murphy admitted with a shrug. "It was an educated guess based on observation and a whole lot of hope. Sometimes that's all you've got." The celebration continued around them, humans and aliens mingling in a way that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. Several council members were attempting to learn what the humans called the Macarena, with mixed results. "The consumer may return someday," Rex noted. "Our sensors detected its retreat to another dimensional plane, not its destruction." "And if it does, we'll come up with an even crazier plan," Murphy assured him. "That's what humans do. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. It's why the gods find us so terrifying." As they rejoined the celebration, Rix reflected on the paradox that was humanity. A species still struggling with its own planetary governance had proven essential to galactic survival. A civilization barely out of its technological infancy had solved a problem that stumped species with millions of years of advancement. Perhaps that was why humans were both terrifying and essential to the universe. They weren't bound by the same assumptions that limited more advanced species. They saw possibilities where others saw only impossibilities. They brought chaos to order. And sometimes, just sometimes, that chaos was exactly what the universe needed. As if reading his thoughts, Murphy raised her glass in a toast. "To the unexpected solutions," she said with her characteristic smirk. "May they continue to save us when logic fails." Rex raised his own glass in return. "To humanity," he replied. "The species that terrifies the gods and occasionally their allies." Around them, the celebration continued, a chaotic, joyful reminder that sometimes the most unlikely species could become the most valuable allies. And somewhere in the distant cosmos, a cosmic entity nursed the equivalent of a divine stomachache, reconsidering its dietary choices and giving the Milky Way a wide berth. At least for now.